Hey, late this morning, but you want me to share my screen or wait for a little bit? Oh yeah, not at all. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I've got a long position from much higher on the ES that I didn't take my loss on yesterday. So I took a really nice crude trade against it and basically made most of my money back. I tried to take a long NQ overnight, and it went my way a little bit and then came back and stopped me out break even. So I'm looking to possibly buy NQ again, which is a little bit silly, but I kind of want to try adding to my position here. But I can't really with ES. I'm sort of just at their mercy a little bit with ES here. So but look at YM ripping and has been all night. So I know maybe what I should be doing is getting short NQ to. I'm long from 78, 80, 87. I had a chance to cover it all for a small profit, but then I left and went to see my sister. When you do that, you should not leave and just leave without a stop in place. But it is my bigger account where I don't mind holding positions for a while. So, but it was pretty stupid because I was thinking short. I was looking for that correction, and then what do? I buy the fucking thing. I mean, you can't make that shit up, right? No, I mean the good thing was I've traded crude really well, and I was, I had 3 days in crude today, or I mean this week, where I've probably made 16, 17 points out of it, times however many contracts. Oh yeah, I'll be right back. I'm in the room. So. Okay. Now we're looking better here. And they just seem to cue these things up for big short squeezes, especially ahead of the jobs report. That's one thing that I don't know how many people have noticed, but that's one thing that I like to do with position trading is consider the few days or week leading up to something big like a jobs report as a way to kind of like look at like, well, how much is the market really going to move ahead of a big report like that, right? You'll get some position squaring on both sides usually going into it. So it should give you some good chances to kind of even like trade around your position some. But then ultimately you see this so often where, the shorts are the ones that have to lift, or the hedges are the ones that have to lift going into the number. So usually on a Thursday you can get, a nice short squeeze if it sets up correctly. Like that's why I kind of liked AVGO missing. I mean, it's hard when it's down 15%. I didn't really want it to miss that badly, or I don't even know if it missed or hit or whatever. It's just the stock is really reacting badly. I would have rather had the market down some with AVGO down 5% or something like that. And then it maybe give me a little more confidence about having a good short squeeze ahead of the number tomorrow. But, it's just as likely they could sell them going into the number. So I'm watching this carefully right here because the loss isn't as bad as it was. Now it's like, do I start pairing or do I wait? It's probably worth trading around that position a little. So mostly just want to see, I mean, YM and RTY are pushing pretty well here. I just mostly want to see NQ recapture the open and try to squeeze some and go back up into the prior day's close. I mean, that has been the pattern, and is Broadcom enough to reverse that pattern, especially going into the jobs report? And they might just pay me here still, but yeah, you're good. Yep. Can you hear me? Yep, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. I don't know what's wrong with yours. Yep. I'm here. Can you hear? Okay, cool. So this is good right here, guys. Let's see if we can hold the open again and hold this 290 level or so. There's an S2 level at 264. Okay, so that's right in line with sort of the opening print, and then also where this big moving average comes in. And the S2 level in and of itself is a level that, I mean, that just means we've already moved a lot, right? So can we get all the way back up to the prior days close, like we should be able to. Can we get all the way back up to, you know, the pivot is 594 or so on NQ. The weekly R1 is 725, and then the daily R1 is 709. Those are huge, that'd be a huge squeeze, right? But anything's possible on that stuff. The board is pretty green, actually. I know. Are you long or? Okay. Pardon me. So people were discussing a little bit where they get their money for this big SpaceX IPO, right? Like, well, maybe they just got it in Broadcom. Sell Broadcom, buy SpaceX and everything else. And here's the YM 15-minute chart. Okay. Look at that. That's ripper, huh? Here's your ATR box. 5-day ATR and exceeded it by another 200 points. So, and is that new all-time highs on it? I guess it is. So that's lovely. Now let's see if the rest of these can catch up. Q today, but what are the components? I'm going to look up the components here. 2.5%. You know, Travelers, Goldman, Amgen, JPM, Walmart, Disney, J&J, all up 1.5 to 2%. Very few names red. Just Nvidia, Caterpillar, Cisco, and Chevron down about 1%. For what that's worth, who knows, you know. But you know, looking back at, these are my orders from what I was trying to sell at yesterday, where I was thinking we'd get this burst back up through, and I just always thought yesterday that we were going to see a retest of the open and kind of have a doji day kind of thing, and maybe we just get that sort of on a 2-day basis here again. Like, that's something to be conscientious of if you're ever, you know, playing more position trades where you're holding them for swing trades or a little longer periods. Like, I really like that, those setups during especially this week of jobs reports. I've had a very, you know, pretty good record in terms of like being able to play some of my trade position trades and swing trade ideas, and knowing that there's a lot of this kind of position squaring and stuff ahead of the number. So I don't want to be too greedy here on covering this loss. Like, if I cover it right here, it's a great cover. You know, so I don't want it to get away from me here. If we start breaking down again, then I might just get out, because I think I have a pretty good chance of seeing the pivot trade, which is 72.5, and then if it can get through that pivot and reclaim it, or, you know, and hold that level, then you know, we could just follow YM here and make a new all-time high today even, right? That would be just the big FU trade to everybody that got shaken out or piled in short, and then they, you know, it seems like every time you get thinking you should really be short, and then they, you know, you get a sort of just enough follow through to get you like piling in short, and then they reverse it. Maybe today will be different. It's hard to figure out on something like Broadcom, because it's a big market cap, you know.
Massive market cap.
Yeah. And I'm not smarter than anyone else. You know, I don't bother even looking at their earnings and stuff like that, because how am I to compare to the analysts and stuff? You know, I don't know any of that stuff. It's just more like, how does the stock react? And that's why I say, like, I wish it weren't down 15, 16% here. I would, you know, feel a lot better about it if it were down half of that or something.
All right, sound check on socials. Let me know.
Let's see here.
Yeah, it's getting dicey here. So heads up, right? Just I want to be careful here to watch this so closely. It's now 10:04. Okay. So just being mindful of it. I'm just reviewing the plan here all as well. Just because um I'm unsure of what the next move is. I think, and I don't know if I have a bias, right? I think I have a bias in terms of wanting to see that big liquidation break because I think I think it's going to play out. I just you never know when. But the book is the book, right? And I know and I trust myself on reading it. It's been I've been doing it well enough that I think that I can get it right. But I don't want that bias. You know what I mean? To to keep me out of a good long. Does that make sense? I'm sure you guys probably deal with the same thing.
Right. I'm gonna try some if we can recapture this low here on YM. I mean on NQ.
All right.
Yeah, it's the NVIDIA recapture as well. So made a new low there. It's got a 211 handle, and you want to see NVIDIA get back up through the 213 level ish, 213 and a half, start going bid.
Yeah. So this is kind of what I was talking about in the pre-market, right? What we're seeing here is certainly not no. So we've gotten what? So let's just let's just review this. Hang on, let me get this right. So typically in my experience, what I've come to hone in on is that when and it was really hard to it's been easier to read than it was during the last distribution. But watch this. Hang on. I just want to get these algorithms right. Okay. So here, I'm going to blow this out. So if you guys remember, right, during this was a really so during this last distribution, right, but right back up here, let me just give us a blank chart so that it's all clear. If you guys are in a trade, just focus on your positions. But during this last distribution here, right, I had a similar read on it, and I wrote about it in the opening print around here on this rally. I was looking for it to extend higher. On this rally, I recall on this day, I was looking for it to extend and it didn't. And I was like, all right, now I'm sure of the read. But then it didn't really break for like 2 weeks. And I was second guessing myself, but then it finally broke, right? Okay. So what I learned from that experience was that these patterns can take longer to play out. And that's why you often hear like people who are bearish say, "Oh, I was early and stuff." And what I'm coming to understand with that is that it, you have different studies that say, "Oh, it happened this time, that time." And really what it has to do is when everybody that was long, and what I mean by everybody, it's a loose term, it's subjective, right? Because you never know, is it Goldman, is it HSBC, is it Credit Suisse, is it Merrill Lynch? And I mean all of those, and all those different entities are operating in different time frames with different books, right? But what I noticed is that the book doesn't lie. And so what you'll see is that price will do things like this. It'll frustrate the crap out of bears because you get these spikes down, you get all these buying tails that then that fail to extend, and then everybody sees the support hold, and then they get long, but we fail to extend. And in my opinion, that started back here on Thursday, except for the news driven pops. It looks like they extended, but they didn't. And the chart read is unclear and it's tricking. I think it's tricking most people. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right. We should see a break here. Eventually, I wouldn't say eventually, but I mean, maybe over the next 7 to 10 sessions. We'll see. And if I'm wrong, right? I mean, that's what I want to do is make sure that I pivot quickly. All right, going back up again to test it. See, but so you'll see price gets supported at lows, right? Support, and then fails to break out and extend. Fails to break out and extend. Let's see what happens here. There's no easy trade because the short is not easy either. Which you got, I wrote it down in my notes. How did I phrase it? Let me just see. I know I wanted to make sure that I remembered that moving into today's market. Yeah, so context has changed. Highs are being sold into. Buying longs in the middle of the range, not working. Breakouts, not working. Longs working from deep support to look below and fails. Bottom edge of balance. So I need to remind myself of that because that's what I want to stick to. Again, let me repeat it for you guys. So when the market shifts like this, my experience has taught me. Happy Hiker says 6 of the last 7 days showing a single day negative AD value at close. Yep. Yes, that is a good observation. There is also another statistic that I shared similar to that one. I'll get the screenshot. Let me find the screenshot here. Yeah, so I'll repeat that. Just wait, let me get the screenshot up. It's an important graphic. Stab higher, failed again. Yeah, so I wrote, highs are being sold into breakouts are not following through. Buying in the middle of the range is torture. I probably had just gotten stopped out. Has become a buying in the middle of the range is torture has become a very low probability trade, because on the ramp, right from the March 30th low, you could buy it in the middle of the range and you were good. And so patience is key. Breakouts not working. Longs from deep support, look below and fails, or bottom edge of balance for long trades. And then for the short trades, it's dicey, right? Because so for short trading, I am willing to take 3 stop outs to nail a position, because what I want to do is I want to enter as close to my exit as possible, right? I think we all do to a certain degree. But the way I prefer to engage those levels is through order flow reads, which means I'm going to be wrong often. But I'd rather take a 4-6 tick loss. I've posted about, Bo, you probably know, you've been around for a while. I'll post about these asymmetric opportunities, right? So yep. I'd rather take a 6 to 8 tick loss here, trying to, if let's say that we are, coming into a resistance zone. Let me see, what's the resistance zone that I have for today is 75.60. All right. So 75.60. 75.60. Well, we are trading that right now. The order flow is not giving us the read though. So say we keep coming into here and we start doing, this. We keep printing these over and over and over again. Just high, but at different levels.
I'm watching NVIDIA closely because it's got to get through this 213 level. If it does, we could rip.
For doing things like that, which is what we're seeing right now, I prefer to say I tried it here and I tried it here and I got I tried it here, and I was stopped out here. If I can nail it here and I lost 4 ticks there, but then my first scale is, it's 5 or 6 points, but I catch the move. I've traded that way before and it's worked out. Or the other way to engage it is you wait for the structural break, right? We come up. I'm going to draw it off screen, but so let me just get some more space on this chart. But trade it this way. So we get the break, we come up, you see that high fall, we're unable, maybe we just put in a marginal high, but ultimately, we put in a, like a head and shoulders, and then we get the break, or we come up and we just put in a lower high. Right at that point, what I want to do is I want to get in short around here, around this break, in this area here and here, with my risk marker being up here, hoping for the best. But the best positions have been, and I've nailed them sometimes, that where this becomes my risk marker, and then then the test comes that you have to hold through it. Like there are going to be retracements, and you're going to question your sanity.
Oh yeah.
All right, here's the graphic. So let's see. I'll just zoom that out for you guys. So 4 consecutive record highs on negative breadth. It's never happened before. And it's hard to call tops, right? That's a losing game. I'd rather buy dips. AI under a little pressure. Live Action says AI under a little pressure after the Broadcom earnings. Forgot to write that.
Yeah, but like, so to me, the pressure on all of these things based on Broadcom is the buying opportunity everyone was looking for. You know, the next buying opportunity. So I'm really encouraged by this this green board in the S&P and in the Dow, and the, you know, the broadening effect. Like, this is what we wanted. So I mean, if the market goes the other way, it goes the other way. But I like this a lot.
The long?
I really like the long setup a lot right here.
For what? For ES or Broadcom?
For just the overall markets in general. Like, the fact that YM is putting in such a huge day, we're getting these great reactions in YM and RTY, and that the E-mini is still positive on the day and has a big green board. I mean, except for tech, I like that that's a good rotation. You know, I really like that.
Philly D says, me too. Seems like a coil up here to the upside. And it has to, I mean, you have to think that way, right? I mean, I'm sharing a thesis, but I prefer to trade it from the long side.
Right.
Because you can click yourself to death. You can click yourself broke trying to pick tops. And I'm just a better long trader. That's why I pointed out earlier. I said, you know, I don't want this idea to form a bias, and then I missed the long trade because I'm looking for something that's not there based on a thought, and that's not what what's really happening. So with that said, right, here's the plan was, if we break above and we get into yesterday's range and they make it stick, then we have to start thinking long. And then I have to start thinking long with maybe a potential test. I mean, we outlined this level in the pre-market, if you guys remember, and that's the exact level that held, right? It's not magic, it's just structure. Let's see. All right, we talked about, we wanted to see price hold this area here, and that's what we got. We got the pullback right to that area, and now we're moving higher. So, you know, in actuality, if I sans that thought, what's happening here is we'll have a resistance point that's being tested multiple times, and the order flow is telling me that they're not done to the upside. We're consolidating at highs. That's a fact. So we should get the break above into yesterday's range. And at that point, I have to entertain long ideas in yesterday's range for a potential move to value area high 75.90. So how am I going to execute that idea? Well, let's go back. Let me go back to my plan. All right. So my plan, where's my continuation long? See, I drafted this. These levels were created from last night. So because I was busy in a meeting, I didn't have the time to refresh them. So the overnight low, let's see where the overnight low is. 75.22. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't. 75.24. So I can buy 75.30. So okay, so the way I would execute that idea, right? So we're chopping around at highs. If I can get a pullback, so 75.30. If not, I have to do the continuation long. I may just let the algorithm take care of it for me, because I don't have anything planned here. Continuation long 75.33, and I have the resistance 70. So the bearish setup for on the market blueprint, it executed, and you you would have gotten paid on it. It just didn't stick. Right. So if you faded, if you took, excuse me, if you took setup number 4 on the first touch, you got 75.64. You got as low as, in a perfect scenario, you got as low as 75.43. But I would have gotten 5 and 10 out of it. That's what I always look for. ES is on the move here.
Yep. So 72.5. Watch that level. That's the pivot on ES. On the daily, the weekly pivot is actually 69.25. So it might fail right here. The NQ. NQ's pivot is 593.70. 593.75. It's interesting how different it can be sometimes. So I want to see on ES, I want to see that 72.5. Trigger some stops above and through it, and then hold that level, and then hopefully we target, like you're saying, the 95s. I still have my offers in way up there. New highs in the advanced declines. Meta and Google on their highs. NVIDIA recaptured that 13.5 level. So let's see if it can get going. That could be enough. So
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, it's moving out here. 1027.
advanced declines 1300 now. How have we been trading with the ticks? So our low tick of the day was minus 85. Kind of interesting considering how much we were down.
Yeah.
our high tick has been plus 640. So let's see if we can run some stops here and start printing some high ticks over 1,000. You know, we've seen these short covering rallies before on just these little dips where they just keep getting people caught.
Hey, Bo, hang tight. I have to I just give me a second here. You can I'll leave you in good hands with Bo. Just give me a second.
All right. Man, looks like I was gonna get that. Let's see if they can still fill me. Maybe I should drop it. I think I better drop it. Just in case. Let's see if I can get it.
Yeah, so right at checkout, now I need to work on it. Go ahead and let me know if that works out.
All right, filled on this.
Oh, crap.
Okay.
All right, so we got step one looks complete, right? We're getting that move up into we reclaimed yesterday's low, 75.62. Scaling NQ from the bounce high. Good job, Happy Hiker. Let's go. Let's ring the bell for Happy Hiker. He just scaled out of some profits there, so give him a ding.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Let's go. I have not executed anything yet. I've just been trying to get
Ring a ding, ding.
Trying to get my hair put out. And really just trying to help a client get back to trading here. If there's one thing that experience has taught me is to just, you know, when I feel like insecure, I don't want to just want to make sure, you know, I get my thoughts and my ideas right before I start pulling the trigger. And so I'm okay with I'm really okay with sitting some stuff out.
Yeah, when I trade well, I'm like that. When I trade poorly, I'm basically looking at every little squiggle like it's the next big move, and that's not, you know.
You know, and it's always after the fact that you realize it, right? Like it's like, what were they thinking? Yeah, yep, I get it. You get it.
Oh, I don't know if you guys watch Fast Money, but that was a really interesting interview with Terry Duffy, the CME CEO, on the the challenges and the stuff about perpetual futures and stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
so
that
that
was
is so,
last night, so you can look it up and watch it if you want. But it's worth a. It was about a 5 minute
oh
piece.
man, you know what? Interestingly enough about that, right? Um, so what time was it? You said it was on Fast Money.
It was on Fast Money. It was, I think, pretty early in the show, like during the first 20 minutes of the show. Um, yeah, just I thought it was just. I always try to listen to him if I see him on something, because
Terry Duffy.
yeah, I think that's his. I'm pretty sure that's his name. CEO of the CME.
Yeah. So, interestingly enough about that. So about a year ago, when we started building Pitbull Traders, we started hearing about it was there where our legal counsel, our attorney, started with introducing the concept to us, and so it's nice to see that that's coming to fruition now. It's going to help in a lot of ways, right? So like, you know how you sometimes like I hate rollover because it just screws up your charts. You don't know which, the front month, the back month. But I understand why it's going to hurt some folks because they won't be able to trade their spread, their strategies. And so there's, there are like everything else, there are positives and there are negatives.
Well, part of what he was saying was that the law itself is written in a way that says basically a futures contract has to have an expiration date. It has to have a term on it.
Oh,
So
really?
TC, he's saying the CFTC has basically approved a rule change that's unlawful.
Huh.
And he's super against it. He's like, this is the whole concept behind hedges and orderly markets and able to, you know, uh, provide risk management through all different parts of our lives that a lot of people don't even think about. Including like banks and financial kind of stuff, interest rates, everything. I don't know. It's not like some interview that you like gain some market edge or anything else on, but it's a very interesting thing that's happening there, and a lot of it has to do with how much leverage he was bringing up. Like in Europe, they can lever like up to 250 to 1. And that's part of what this CFTC rule change is also trying to. And we know there's a
It
You know, what was the core? Know how dangerous it would be
Trying to eliminate.
to be.
But so that'll help in terms of like no expiration, no rollover, right? That would help. I think that would help people hold positions longer.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be able to explain it. You know, like
Right.
listening to him explain it, you can understand the concept better, right? Like if you're
Right.
thinking more of I mean, I've never traded futures as sort of like a risk management scenario, right? I mean, maybe a little bit, like if I'm long in my general account and you don't mind being short because you think there's a pullback coming or whatever, but compared to what futures contracts were designed for in like the ag space and everything, the concept of having that term structure, that expiration date is, it sounds like really, really important to kind of how risk management is structured. But again, I'm not like explaining it very well the way he did in terms of his position of like being against the rule change.
Right.
It's different, I think, than what Large Void is talking about. I don't know if I think it's totally different ruling and different rule change scenario. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So I'll be right back.
Thanks, Bo. Great insight from Bo there. Getting the breaking news. All right, I'm in that pullback long at 75.65. Looking for 65.70. And then looking for 65.75. Not feeling great about it. I hate being long at this time. But it's almost like it's almost as if I'm in a weird headspace today. I just want to make sure that I'm staying mentally flexible. And I think it's important the hardest thing to do is to trade against a bias, right? No matter how much you try it, it's hard to do. And so that would be certainly an area of growth for me. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Large void. I appreciate it. Okay, let me just check that. Appreciate that update, though. Large void. Sure do. It has audio but no video. Okay, hang tight.
We're getting some down ticks right here, sort of near the highs, while NVIDIA is trying to get through the 14.5 level. So watch out if the down ticks reverse and go up tick. Sometimes you'll get like a minus 200 and then it's followed up by a plus 800 or something. And that could be the trigger through the buy stops above. Advanced declines are pulling back a little, back to 1200. They printed about 1300.
Oh, just hit it. Just hit it. I'm just getting an alert. Hang on a second. When I peeled on this order flow, there's not much to read from the ticks. I took 2 ticks on that one. Grinder higher.
I don't know if it's going to be a grinder higher. I think we might see a pretty explosive upside move here and imminently. Could be wrong though. Maybe we've put in our range for the day and we just trade back down to the open. And but I'm staying with it for now.
Yeah, I'm looking for 75.70 for 5 points.
Nice.
Pull that out here on this chart.
Yep. Like you got it.
Yeah, got that fill 75.70. So if you guys are following along, I had 65s. It came back in on me. I had 3 75.70s. Sorry, 75.65. When it came down on me at 75, it was 66.50. I took 2 ticks on it, on 2. Then immediately I just added them back because I saw that there was a shift in here in my Delta reader, so that they were underlying bids. They were stacking bids into the book on the offer on the bid side. So I knew that it was just a momentary blip down. So with those orders stacking there, I knew I had that back. So I just added them back, and that raised my average to 67.25. And so yeah, that's the way I managed that. So I took 2 ticks on the first. And then the original, I kept 1. So that one I got 5 points on. And so now I'm looking for 5 points on the second, which would be a 72.75. I don't want to see, I'm wrong below 62.25. Willing to just trade out of these because just trying to do the best I can here.
NVIDIA's got eyes for highs. I think it's going to blast through.
Eyes for highs.
I'm right.
All right, come back in.
As soon as I say that, it'll sell off.
All right, I took those off. I don't like the way we went up there and failed to make a new high. I'm going to stand fast here. Maybe give the opposite side a shot into my AM high, and I kind of laid out like I didn't want to be long into a high pivot, a high time based pivot, especially it being 10:45. Would rather try the other side, but then am I leaning on my bias again? Just going through that stuff. I'm going to just sit it out for a bit while I get aligned with the market, with what it wants to do, not what I want it to do. So good things one thing to just that I want to point out is in times like this, I like to pivot to micros because I think I would have been stopped out in the full lot. So yeah, I like to pivot to micros on situations like this because until I get my read right. Can always just stack them. Just be long like 50 of them or something. I once found myself in a micro trade, and I think I had some obscene number. I was up to like 79. Just the number alone, right? Just the number alone of being like in a position, in a future position, and it's saying 79 just kind of freaked me out a little bit. Coming back up again. Yeah, it's just chopping around at highs. Yeah, I agree, J Morrow. It is just chopping around. So we have to stay long, right? We're above yesterday's low. Let me just look at that chart. Yep, we're above yesterday's low. We have to stay long-minded here. Let's see if I can get a better pullback to get in. Dip to rip maybe. So yeah, so we're still at that resistance point from the market blueprint. And I mean, I tried the long. I got 5 points on the first. I got 2 ticks on 2, then 5 points on the first, and then I think it was -2 on the second too. So more or less a net loss. Again, better just this is not a structure right here yet where I think I'm trying to navigate that bias really. I'm looking short. What is the WAD doing? It's positive. Yeah. So let me see if I can get a good pullback into, give it like another half an hour to see if I can get a good pullback. And I'm going to run into the idea that I got rejected from yesterday's range, right? So if it's messy, maybe I'll just try the short here and see if I can get it to stick. We're trading 64, the high is 70. So that's, we're trading 65, the high is 70. So that's a 5-point risk. And then I'm trying to get back down, so it's a 5-point risk, really 15-point risk if I go in 3. Not in love with the idea. And if I go with micros, I can always like add as it goes in my favor, but I just don't see the break here. Not with the WAD. If I think Jay Murdoch has it right. So Jay Murdoch, for you guys tuning in on socials, Jay Murdoch posted dip to rip maybe, and maybe that is the case here, right? And so let's just talk about that for a moment. So maybe it comes, maybe we rally, Jim, we rally into lunch, and then we get a fade. I'm gonna go ahead and try them here and see if they can just, execute like, so I can still take this as a valid trade for my setup number 4. And I have to validate trades for me, right? So this way I can just live with myself later. And so I could definitely take a trade here. I just don't know. I'm not in any, I'm not in anything yet. I'll let you know. Again, it doesn't, this is not an easy read. Let's see what the 15-minute looks like. Let me, oh, you know what? I probably can get a better read if I zoom out a little bit. Zoom out, get off that 5-minute, and let's look at the 15. Look at the 15, Bo. We're gonna put a negative outside bar here. I know you're thinking bullish, so I won't try to talk you out of your position, because who knows? You have just as much probability to be right as this bar has to be right, I guess. But let me just look at, and then let me look at this 30. Right.
You got 5 minutes left on this candle, right?
On what time frame? On
Were you
15?
just looking at the 15?
Right. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Good point. Yep. Still 5 minutes left. That's the 60-minute time frame. Yep. And then look at the profile. The profile is not saying, hey, we're going to go. Not an easy read for sure. I think sidelined is it for me here. Just until I can get a better read on things. Yeah, look at this. Let me see the 4-hour print. That's a 2-hour. Yeah, you see, that's. Put this back on 15.
I mean, you got to look at the YM right now has put in a 700-800 point move off its lows in the overnight. And the big board, let me show you what the heat map looks like here on the S&P. There's a lot of green on that board. So just depending on what you think about this.
And we're above yesterday's low.
And NVIDIA is now trading 215 again. Right. So, I mean, yeah, Broadcom was a big hit. Some of these others have taken a hit, but how much are they going to be scooping that stuff up?
Right. Nope,
I agree. I don't know. We'll see, right?
I agree. I'm typically on that side of the fence. I tried the long, and then look, I'm just going to hang tight for a minute here, let this play out. I can, some of my best trades have come in the afternoons. And I don't want to give up a bunch of points here when I know I'm a little bit off on my read.
So the 75s were sort of that big breakdown level, and that's where the stops are really going to kick in. If they get back above the 75s, then you're going to, there's a possibility that they just keep sweeping these upside stops. Look at YM's almost, back near its highs, eyeing highs again. If that's just the one nice pullback and a continuation pattern to the upside, then you could just start to see a little bit of the panic mode come in terms of the buy stops and short covering ahead of tomorrow's number. I mean, it's so much is based on tomorrow's number. Just in terms of positioning, if they're not already covering some or haven't already covered some, they're going to need to if it keeps going higher. So that buying it brings in more buying. Anyway, we got to get through the 72.5 and then see if the 75s and 76s really get anything going, or if that's the level that everyone's waiting to get out from again, like people like me that were stupid about.
I'm sorry, where were you? You said you were long 78?
78, 80, 87.
Oh, okay, 75, 78. I'm like, we haven't traded
I
78.
I was layering into a
God.
big position, and then I just held it. I kind of just decided to hold it.
Yeah, I need to be careful here because I can feel it. Like, I can feel when something stupid's about to happen.
Well, you simultaneously want to see if crude can reject this 93 level again, because the overnight move back in crude is also a good thing for the market. If we can keep crude somewhat contained here, the consumer will be okay, you know, but if we get crude doubling in price from here kind of thing, then it's going to be gnarly. So it's like, that was another thing that I really liked about, I mean, number one, because I was short crude and made $3 on it in that trade. But number two, I just think that was, having it not continue up and through 100 is another sort of positive thing for the market and for this pullback. So here we go. Let's see how serious they can get.
Yep, here we go on testing, probing higher. Probing higher. Little.
What happens is
They got scalped is long here. I'm in the long.
Are you?
Scalp
Nice.
them. I'm just gonna take a couple of points though. I'm watching the order flow. As soon as this buying burst dies out, I'm out. All right, I just took a point.
I mean, watch YM and watch NVIDIA. RTY new highs, YM is eyeing highs. NVIDIA is only 30 cents off its high on the RTH. So I'm looking at, okay, here's YM 15-minute chart. This is the 5-day ATR box. Look at how expansive that is to the upside here, okay? Now look at ES. If you use the overnight low as your low, 5-day ATR, all we have to do to fulfill that 5-day ATR is print that 88 level. If we do like the YM and expand it, right? Or if you're ignoring, if you want to use the RTH low as your box and ignore that extra little 15-point move, then you can target 76.06. 06 as your high. Yesterday's open was like 08 or something. And so the other thought to keep in mind is that the ATR has been contracting. So that's what you see in the YM, is that if it's fulfilled and exceeded its 5-day ATR, and if this mirrors the YM at all, then instead of having a 64 or 65 point move, what if we get 100 points or more off the overnight low? So that would be 75.25 all the way back to 76.25. And then that doesn't even do anything. All that is in my mind, all that is position squaring going into tomorrow's jobs number. It doesn't, other than the really nice sort of bullishness response that would show, right? Like, you still have to wait for that jobs number to come out to see if there's going to be any craziness related to what that print is. And we may not get that. I'm again, like, saying in my mind, we need to hold the 72.5 level and move higher in order to maybe achieve what I'm looking for. And that could be too hard to do if AVGO doesn't ever get going. But if they just don't care about AVGO and they use the 3-day rule, and that's like, okay, the sellers have sold and now nobody really touches it for a few days, that's where you could be seeing all of this shift. Like, I thought you might see NVIDIA down a lot more today. And now the fact that it's, it made a low print there, what was it, 211, just below 211 by 3 cents, and then reclaimed and has just ripped higher. You could see NVIDIA close at 220 or 225 today. Look at YM, there it goes to new highs.
Yeah, it's rallying. I should get an entry on a pullback here soon. Hopefully, waiting for that.
If that was your pullback entry opportunity right there on that one little retest of 71.5, 72.
71. Oh yeah, I want something deeper. I want something like down by maybe.
No, right. No, I know everyone wants something deeper, right? So that could be a tell, in that if this thing keeps going, you've got a lot more buy stops, or just, people watching this 75 level and saying, hey, that was the breakdown point yesterday from the prior day's low, right? The low from whatever it was, Monday or Tuesday. So there's NVIDIA just.
Yeah, they're grinding them higher here. I might get left out of this move. Who knows? I mean, there'll be a trade. There always is. There always is.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to sit and be patient. It might be the afternoon. Who knows? But what I don't want to do is place a haphazard trade. I'd rather just sit it out and wait. So you're coming into your 78s here.
Yeah, I mean, this is playing out pretty nicely for me because I'm still long 2 NQs. I got them at 201. So I've shaved 4 of them off, and my target on NQ is 591 on the last 2.
Here we go to tag yesterday's volume point of control, 75.79.
So there's a little bit of volume coming in right here, but that's the other thing that
Yeah,
I
they're
noticed.
definitely hitting these right now. The 75, 77, 75s, 77, 75, 77, 50s, about 600 times. And then they just they just broke through it. Boom, there it goes. There it goes, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. I scalped them.
My first offer is 90 and a quarter on one.
I'm scalping them here, just taking what I can get. Order flow trade, just oh fuck, I'm on the thing. Here we
Boom,
go.
RTY fulfilled its ATR here.
So looking for 5 points on the scalp here. Sorry. Looking for 5 on the scalp at 81.75. Hopefully I can get them because it's not been a easy trade for me. I'm typically, and I think it's really good to have to share that idea this morning, right? And that, I highlighted earlier that I didn't want to let my bias get the best of me, and then for everyone to watch me struggle with it, right? Like typically I'm really pretty good at being long, and I couldn't hold that long. My head was just crashing. But it's never easy, and that's why I wanted to share with everyone how holding those biases can really, they can really hurt you. And I don't think it can hurt you, but also I think more importantly is that and it's hard to trade against your bias. And I think in that awareness, right, there's a lot of good information. So it's kind of like so think about it like this, right? It's kind of like finding out you have cancer. Yeah, it sucks, but at least now you know. And I know that's nothing to joke about, but I took 3 points on one, so I still have one left. I'm going ahead and get a break even stop because, like I said, I just want to scalp them out. Just want to scalp them. So I took 5 on the first, 3 on the second, and trade against my bias. Follow what the market is doing, right?
VIX has just been selling off all day, so as expected, right? NVIDIA I'd love to see NVIDIA trade to 220. Not sure if that'll happen, but
all right, coming into another target. Let's see, 77. My ultimate target would be 87 for 10 points, 87 quarter. So that'll net me 5, 3, and 7 and 10. See if I can get it. But you see how hard it is to trade against your bias. Like I could have been in this long, at what was it, 63 and 65, and I would have had 20 points in it. But it's not, I think we all go through the same thing, and to think that there's somebody out there that's got it all licked is just not factual, right? This is what real trading, what professional trading looks like. Even pros struggle with having a bias.
Yeah.
I knew an oil options trader that traded oil options for a larger hedge fund, and he used to talk about it all the time. Like he used to talk about the mental aspect of it, and how, and at that time I was really young in my trading career, and I thought that like professionals trading at banks and hedge funds had it all figured out, and he was the one that kind of opened my eyes to it. Hey, no, everybody's going through the same thing. It's like, but one thing that he did share with me, and I never forgot, was that they had like in-house people that they could talk to about these things, coaches, mindset people. Like they had a person like Damon who works on, holistic approach. Like calming your mind and breathing exercises. They had all of that, like just on a corporate level. Just more resources, but the same challenges. So I'm glad I traded against my brain, my bias, right? Because if not, what would have been happening to me, team? I would have been shorting every little pop here into the AM high, trying to frame my narrative around my bias. But what we did, and I'm glad I was able to share it with everyone, was we went back to the chart, right? We got in alignment with what the market was telling us to do and what we framed out in the pre-market, right? If we show acceptance back above yesterday's low and we get above value, then we should expect a move to the opposite end of value at 75.90. And that's the expectations. And so you guys can see firsthand how it wasn't an easy trade for me to execute and how I traded against my bias. But what I want to share more importantly is that it would have, I was willing to sit it out. But what I wasn't going to do was, what I wasn't going to do was start trading short. Trading, I didn't want, I knew I had an idea that my bias was wrong and that I had a bias. And that awareness and the ability to stay flat is really, it's a skill set that we all need to attain if we want to do this as a career. And more importantly, you guys can see that it's not easy for anyone, so don't ever feel bad that you're struggling with it, and that's why we have the pit room. That's why we started our funding company, because we want to help traders get to that point, that professional status, that professional level. And the idea is we're going to build Pitbull traders to a point where we're operating it kind of like a hedge fund, right? Where we have a group of, we're not going to be the biggest. That's never been our intention. But if we can get a group of, I don't know, say a dozen traders who are elite, who know what they're doing, and we're coaching them, we're sharing our levels, we're sharing our tools. That's all we're going to need. With that, we should be able to keep the company above water, keep the lights on, and we'll be just sharing in the profit splits. Not like some other firms that are, in it for resets. And so think about that. Just think about that for a second. There are prop firms that it's predatory, right? So their business is predicated on reset fees. So how I get it. So in that type of environment, you have to, it reframes trading, right? Because it's no longer, how do I say it? It's no longer you trading your personal account. It's more, how can I say it? It's now you have to trade. It's not you trying to beat the market. It's more about, hey, I have to beat the market and beat the rules from the prop firm, because they're, because they are building their rule sets based on the tendency for traders to fail. I hope I explained that right. And again, I don't want to talk anyone down. That's not the case. I hate negativity. But I just think that one of the biggest mistakes traders make is they trade an evaluation account the same way they would want to trade their personal account. And those two things are completely different. In your personal account, your goal is to make as much money as possible and manage risk. That's it. No consistency rule, no evaluation target, no payout thresholds, none of it. Just profit and risk. Profit and risk, right? That's it. which is profit and risk, and you managing that risk, correct? I think we can all agree on that. And then, but now when you trade a prop firm, yeah, you have, oh, I got the target, guys. So plus 10 points at 87. Happy about that. Let's ring the register. Get a little ring, and let's clap it out. If you're new toys for Manny. Well, anyhow, back to framing out that wow, I got that right to the tick too. So when you're trading when you're trading your personal account, the goal is pretty simple, right? It's just make money, be in alignment with the market, trade the market, don't and make as much money as possible. No consistency rule, no evaluation rules, none of that. But when you're trading a prop firm, it's different, right? So then now there are additional constraints as opposed to just trading the market. So now it's profit target, it's drawdown rules, it's consistency rules, it's minimum trading days, it's payout requirements. You're no longer just excuse me, you're no longer just trading the market, you're trading the market and the rule structure. You're trading the market and the rule structure for the prop firm that you're trading, right? So know that. And you could probably compare it to driving. Like if you're driving your car on an open road, right? You're in the Baja 300, right? Just open road. That's like your personal account. And whereas trading a prop account is kind of like driving on the same road, but now you have speed limits, checkpoints, and guardrails, and also a speed cop who's watching you, right? Highway patrol, I should say. So now you have highway patrol watching you. You have guardrails, speed limits, checkpoints, all that crap to deal with, right? I think, and often you'll hear, one of the reasons why traders struggle with props, with trading prop firms is and this is why you want to be careful with which prop firm you choose, is because oftentimes you'll hear traders they'll beat the market, but they won't beat the rule structure. The market they'll get angry because the market didn't beat them, the rules did. And that's tough for anyone. Many traders have enough skills to pass in an evaluation. What they don't have is enough awareness of how the rule structure works and how their behavior needs to change for that rule structure. Like in your personal account, you might hit one big trade and you might be done for the month. Like you see how Bo's trading his personal account. In the prop account, but there's no way Bo would have been able to hold that position.
Correct.
In a prop account, that same behavior where Bo's in it right in his position in his personal account, that would have failed him, and he would have been under duress. Like, oh, I just failed another prop firm. I just failed another account.
Right.
In your personal account, you can let a winner breathe. You can let a loser work. But with and then even the worst part about it, the prop firms that have these trailing drawdowns. With a trailing drawdown, account management becomes it is like so incredibly difficult. I do not trade any prop account that has a trailing drawdown. I think it's a nefarious practice.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And here's another thing, right? Here's another mistake I often see traders make is they'll trade because certain firms have different rule structures for evaluations to funded accounts. The biggest mistake is I see traders, they'll treat trading a funded account or like it's an evaluation account. So an evaluation account, they're taking on a little bit more risk. Because they're like, all right, it's just the cost. My risk here is the cost of the evaluation. So if I'm down, if my threshold in the market, if my end of day drawdown is $3,000, but in the back of my mind, I know that evaluation only cost me $100. it's a different mindset, right? You go into it it's framed differently for you. You frame it differently yourself. And then you can more easily pass that evaluation because you'll sit through do an outsized drawdown because hey, whatever, I'm not down $2,000. I'm down 90. And so it kind of brings on this how can I say a careless, haphazard way, or maybe a cavalier way of executing your trades. So during funded, then they go to funded account and they want to make they'll get a good trade and then they're approaching a payout, but then those bad habits during the evaluation phase come back and bite them in the butt. And so what we are trying to do is different than that. We want to trade alongside our traders. We want them to to reach success. We want to give them the right tools. And so that in the hopes that we're not going to have 500 traders, trading resets. What we're going to have is, maybe a couple dozen traders who are all, elite, who are consistently profitable. And the way we've mapped out our business model is we should be able to make a living and run a profitable business with the 80-20% split. So that's when we started building Pitbull like a year ago. That's why this live stream medium was a necessity, because we had to demonstrate in real time how we trade.
Seeing a little minor divergence so far in the advanced declines.
I got covered at 87.25. So now I'll just go back to the blueprint and try to wait. Maybe I can get a pullback to somewhere into the settlement. I don't think so. It might just be a scalping day for me. Scalp off the tick chart. Or I'll switch strategies. Switch strategies and let the algorithm take it for me. Get a little deeper. Back. But the market seems like it's going back into squeeze mode. I want to make sure I keep this chart open here. This is the one that's going to keep me in alignment.
$453 was the Globex open on the NQ. And then yesterday's low was 478.25. So look at how sort of precise it couldn't quite get to that.
45-point range.
Got YM making new highs. Amazon, Google on their highs, new highs.
VIX on its lows.
Yeah.
Russell on its highs. This is just massively bulled up.
I mean, and it's early in the morning, right? So it's still, we're only 2 hours in.
Yeah, and that's why good point, Bo. That's why I'm going to sit here and be patient because I just need one good one, and not I have to tell myself that there'll be a pullback. There always is. There's always a trade. I just don't want to force anything and then have to make twice as many points to get green. J Mark points out too late. I was long biased. Well, you got that right.
I don't know that you're too late though. I've just seen these squeezes ahead of the jobs report or CPI or PCE that just seems like it's just too often that the shorts have to be lifted. So this thing could go. What's the worst scenario for the shorts? Manny, I didn't hear your stuff pre-market, but I know you like to do these. What's the most bullish? What's the most bearish? And right now, if you're short and this thing starts acting like it wants to go back up and retest and take out the high of the all-time highs, right? Like the shorts are watching that closely, and the higher it goes, the more they have to lift it.
Yeah.
So even though it feels like you're chasing it right here, if you're buying this next breakout, it could trigger stops through these 88s, 90s, and be up to the figure within a few seconds. That's what you want to see if you're kind of this breakout type of buyer. You want to see it just instantly trigger the stops, keep triggering stops, and just they're sweeping all that liquidity. So I just got filled on another one, 87.
Valley area high. Sorry about that, Bo.
That's all right.
No, go ahead. I want to let everybody know how you. What was your trade?
What's that?
No, I think you just pointed out a profit take.
Oh yeah, I sold another one at 87 and a quarter.
Nice.
Right there. So I'm actually now gonna cancel. I had this one at 90 and a quarter. I'm gonna cancel that. I've got four offered at 93 and 3/4 and 99 and 3/4. It looks like I'll get stopped out on the NQ, but maybe not. Because I tightened my stop on that just because at least protect myself on that trade. Yes, JM, but that's because on NQ, that's partly because I let my ES go so negative. So now my ES trade is still, well, now it's green based on the 3 contracts that I sold, but I still have 12 left from 87 and 3/4. So I could still kind of get smoked on those, right? We could pull back here within a minute or two. They could just sweep this right back down to the 60 handle. Well, it was my entry on NQ was 201. And the reason I picked that was, here's my sheet. I was watching the weekly pivot right here at 200. So I decided when we broke down that if we could get back up through that weekly pivot, that they might have a chance of at least rallying up to the S1 level at 380. I was like, you know, the NQ can do that in like a heartbeat, right? So that was kind of why I was looking for that reclaim trade on that one. Here, I forgot to post these for you guys. I tend to do that. So right now I'm just really watching closely to see if the NQ can now regain that 453 level and actually run stops. I believe the stops come in, you know, as you get through yesterday's low again, if you can, right? It may not be able to. Like I said, we could have just, this is such a big move in the YM and even in RTY that, you know, now it's kind of like, okay, has this move sort of exhausted itself? Like you might be able to see YM and RTY pull back slightly, which could fuel ES and NQ on another leg higher. But I'm watching crude at the same time now. It held its open at 92.68, now moving back up through 93. So, I mean, we could have already put in our range for the day, and maybe I need to start selling these ES and take my small loss because I have a chance to take the loss now where I should have taken it yesterday. Right. But I've made enough money on the rest of my trading here that it's like, you know, I can probably give this a little longer to see. Like right now, NVIDIA is still bid 216.5 now, right? So if NVIDIA takes out the 217 level and then 218 level, you know, how much buy stop order flow will it generate? So I'm not terribly anxious about this ES position, especially now that I've also sold a few, which the ones that I sold were from, I had one from 78.25 and one from 80.25 and one from 84.25. So I sold all three of those at 85, 86, and 87. Not huge profits by any means on those, but I just want to see if this thing can make one more, if not more than one more, but at least one more just big buy stop squeeze. Because especially ahead of this on this 15-minute chart, I mean, look at the level there. It's like, it's almost just so obvious for the algos to be able to trigger some of those buy stops. It's sort of almost like feels too easy for them not to do it, right? There's got to be so many buy stops right above this 88 level. But sometimes that trade is so obvious, you know, it's like sometimes it's just too obvious in both directions, right? They could go up there, trigger the buy stops, and then fail and have it completely, they could just completely smoke them back down the other way. But so when I'm trading like this, I totally
real quick back to break
these scenarios in my head to be able to say like, you know, if what I'm watching and keying on right now is Nvidia amongst these other things, right? So now you're starting to see a little pullback here in the RTY, you know, which isn't pulling back much. It's just testing that previous breakout level. You know, how much selling are we going to get in YM? But with rotational kind of flows, like if they start selling these a little bit, then they could keep buying these, you know, the ES and NQ. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I don't want to stick around too much on this. If it gets like they want to take the liquidity to the downside, then I could just be totally regretting it, right? So this is an obvious level here at 81. It seems like they're going to take out the stops below 81. You know, maybe they do a little false break down to then move higher. But now for me or for others that are long, there's less and less incentive to really sell at this point because of the fact that we've recovered somewhat, right? And so it's kind of like, okay, well, the market's absorbed this bad news so far on Broadcom, and it just seems to keep doing this over and over where it's just rotation. There's just so much money out there in the world, and it's like the selling never seems to be, even when we were going down in March, like the selling never seemed to be that sort of across the board kind of selling, you know. I mean, you had a couple days there at the end but we had some good selling days, and then we would rip like crazy right back. You remember those Sunday nights into Monday morning, 250 point rips, you know?
Dude, that was,
it was incredible.
I had my best trading day ever on one of those moves.
Nice.
Ever. I mean, I think I had a net profit of like 76K. It was amazing. And I bought it Sunday night. I think I was long 15 total. And, you know, because I had such a big position on, like I was pretty uncomfortable at the beginning.
Yeah.
But in my defense, you know, just in all fairness, so the first like 10 or 15 points, it just, I was in and it was a little choppy for about 20 minutes or so. And then it ripped away like 15 points from my entry. And so at that point, I didn't have a chance to take a 5 point or anything like that. And I said, screw it. I'm just going to hold it. And I left at that point, I tightened up the risk to like 5 points back from entry, and it just never looked back. And I left the office. I came back. I didn't want to. I knew because of the size of the position, it wasn't going to. I knew if I was at my desk watching every tick, that I was going to peel some off.
Right.
So I left, and I think I took my first scale at 25 points.
Nice.
But it was you know, it was a really easy trade. Like it was rarely I think so. I entered it Sunday night at around 8:30. And I think my first scale was, you know, close to midnight. And then I had to sit through a 10 to 15 point pullback at like 3 or 4 in the morning. So it was, you know, it was just grinding higher. All I had to do was just stay out of the way. And, you know, unfortunately, I got lucky on that one, right? And the components of that trade were that we had, we were in an uptrend, and on Friday we had a sell off, and that sell off we closed on, like, it sold off all into the close and into the runoff, and it closed literally like on the bottom tick. And then it opened Sunday night. It traded a little lower, and then when it reclaimed that Friday low that it had put in before the close, I got long there.
Nice. So NVIDIA is eyeing the 217 level, but we also have crude eyeing this high at 93.30. So like I said, I could be regretting not getting out of this, or getting out of more of it when I had the chance. Now I've had 2 chances.
Well, what's your average? I mean, I don't know if
on my last 12 ES, I was at 87 3/4.
Got it.
So now I'm flat. NQ, I got stopped out there, and I'll be looking to buy 3 more ES somewhere. What I'm hoping is this is a little liquidity. Yeah, I won't be mad now if NQ explodes higher, because if that happens, then the ES should go with it, right? But I did want to make sure to lock in anything and not have NQ go screaming back down, which might be perfect buy spot at that breakout point. But I do not get more my position out there. That my bid there.
Be careful in here, team. This is getting it can get a little squirrely here, right? What happens is, and again, it's impossible to know in real time, but when sometimes it looks like the buying power could be fizzling out, that doesn't mean we won't go higher. It just means that it can get a little bit more, like the easy trade is done. But we've had periods of that, right? Like, look, from 9:30 to 10:15, it was squirrely.
Right.
That was my indecision point, but let's see. I'm gonna try some here. I'm not. Let me just wait. But I have alignment with the clock, and that's all. That's it. I also have a low volume node. I'd like to wait a little bit more. Yeah, we're this could be the low pivot, then we rally into lunch high. Reassess from there. Try some here.
Just this is a nice little, could be a nice little reversal signal. If they now have position squaring to do again, where they want to sell them instead of covering them, then they can easily just sweep this back down into the morning's range, and then like you're saying, then what do you do, right?
I haven't entered. I'll let everybody know if I do. The delta's too there. The order flow is just like I gotta let this. I gotta see some buying. I gotta see some evidence here. And it looks like that, like they're just getting out of the way right now. Like there's just some prices just coming off. So I don't want to. Nice, happy hiker. Well done. Good job, bud. Ready to ring that register. The little toys there for me to have fun with. Heading to Montana for a day hike. Nice. Good job, man. What did we hit up here? Let's see. So it looks like Russell hit what? What is that? Oh, so Russell looked above yesterday's high and failed, but it also it had both of those. Like it looked below last week's low and failed, and now it just looked above it. And then it looked below yesterday's low and failed. Now it looked above yesterday's high and failed. So pick your poison on that one. So, and then NASDAQ came really short of yesterday's high. Interestingly enough, though, let's see what the ES did comparatively speaking. Yeah, not even close to yesterday's high. So, interesting little fade here. But I mean, nothing serious, right? We're what, 7 points off the high? I don't know, 10 points off the high. You know, talk to me an hour ago, and this is what I was looking for.
Right.
You know, the one thing I don't like are those single prints that take us back down all the way to. Gosh, it's hard to think that they don't fill those single prints and repair this 75.69 area. Let me see. I have one data point that can get me long in here, but if I can get some favorable order flow, if I can see some signs of, yeah, look at that. They just dropped like 2 points. So no dice for me. I'm not doing anything until I can get some follow through, get some delta divergence, and this just looks like they're peeling them off. In fact, they're just selling them a little bit more aggressively than anything else. But I do want to get along in here. Let's see where that moving averages. Yeah, we could go all the way down to the 21, and that would be the buy. Just gotta be patient. Just be patient, Manny.
Not much pullback in NVIDIA, guys, so be careful if you're short. Just made a new high again. I did want to also bring up the fact that we've been having pretty mediocre volume, you know, summer trade kind of
78.
A million contracts a day kind of thing. Yesterday's volume on the ES was only about 1.3 million. So on a day where we had a pretty good little selling pullback, the volume was not heavy. I mean, it didn't even get to our average volume over the past 200 days. So our 200-day average volume on ES is about 1.494 million. Yesterday we traded 1.31. There's NVIDIA 217.25, still cranking. I did not get filled on that. Missed it by 1 tick.
That's
That's fine because
you should have helped that little old lady across the street, Bo.
that's okay because I'm still, I needed to go back up through the 88s to make profit on these 12. So
I took
that
the 7.
should happen imminently if Nvidia keeps pushing, right? They've just queued everybody up on the short side again. And now they just take the liquidity and rip them back to the upside again. It's like,
all right, heads up if you're along with me right here. This is where we got to get through. We got to bust through these 82s. Take out that last 5-minute bar at 82. I want to see 82, 83 quarter quick. I've got 78s. When Bo was in the middle of a statement, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Perfect of you to do that because it was a 12-point pullback. Almost exactly a measured move on this pullback this morning, right? And then you get it starting to go. So you still could get a little pullback right here to buy and get long, like at your entry, Manny, 78, 77. And you can then use a really tight stop if you like trading that way.
Live Action took your comment to heart when you said AI sell-off looked like a buying opportunity. So I bought Marvel options this morning and crushed it. Good job, Live Action. Well done, bud. Give you a registering for that one.
Look at Nvidia, guys. It wants the 218s. I think it wants to close above 220 today. I mean, this could be a perfect short reversal trade as well. So don't, my system really is to try and be, when these moving averages are sloped, I should probably be thinking short right here for the pullback down to like what Manny was looking for before, like 68s or 65s or somewhere in there. This is what happens when I sort of screw around with position trades, is then I get caught up about like, oh, well, what about my normal sort of setups? Well, I said I want the 72.5 pivot level to hold. So if this ends up being a nice little structural pullback like Manny's looking for, that it reclaims and goes through that, then great. If we pull back down through these 75s now, I got to be worried if it gets back down to the 67s that we could go back down and test the open. I don't think that's very likely, but because of the jobs report, I just am always keeping that in mind, that it's just position squaring. You could just have one hedge fund or somebody out there that decides, I want to sell some more from right here at this level, and they turn on their sell program and sweep it back down to the open. Look at oh, did it print 218? What was the high? 1787 Nvidia. That was a pretty good stop run, and now it's just sagging like the buyers are done. Let's see what AVGO looks like now. Not much of a recovery yet there, so it could just be sideways and sort of 3-day rule.
All right, moving on up. Let's see if we can take out those 82s again. So I'm not sure if you guys noticed what I did there. just to so just trading around the position at 6 at 78, and then when it came down on me, I took 1 point off on 2, and I monitored it. So I wanted to get something off on the trade, and when the order flow confirmed, and I had some more support in the book, I simply just added those 2 right back. So now my average is 78.75, and so I'm just trading around that position. So when I get this 82.50, it'll still be +5 because that's still part of the original 6 that I had at 78. Oh no, so it should be 70. It should be 83.
Nice.
83 gets me 5. Right. So now that I'm, getting a little bit more familiar, and I know that the folks watching, I hope this doesn't confuse anyone. Because I certainly want to help everyone get better, but I don't want to confuse anyone. So I don't want to feed too much. But it seems like the folks can understand these concepts, and it's seems like everybody's on, the whole team's on board with. I don't think maybe I'm being a little bit too cautious and trying to explain certain concepts, but so I'm always with these types of trades where I'm like scalping from the middle of the day's range. That's the way I'm typically managing them. And you'll often see that I don't have a stop in, and that's just because I'm like I'm watching the order flow. I'm so in tune with it. Like I have my eyes glued on this all the time, most of the time. And that's why I share this little meter right here that's turning red. So I don't like that. But you don't want to take any one signal in isolation. Just let it form out, let it play. And there's a certain like flow you want to get into it. And I can see that they've been, especially you can start to see them lay off, right? You start to see these gaps where there were no sellers. See that? No sellers, but straight sellers all the way through, right? That's people just getting that those sellers just didn't want anything, and buyers are pushing through, sellers getting out of the way.
Nice.
Trying to get up there to those 83s for a 5-point. And then ultimately I'd like to get 88s. I mean, I'd like to get 7,700 if I could. I'm trying to stay flexible and nimble here, just because we might be in just like this little balance area. This might be the fade. Don't know how low this. I think if we are going to fade, it'll be from the lunch high, and that I'm looking for a higher high up there. We'll see. Maybe it's a lower high. So with that being said, make sure I have a cover before we get there, right? So our high is 87.25, 87.70, 87.50. So let me just make sure I have one at 86.50. Coming into that 5-point fill now. Let's see if we can get it. Come on.
Meta's eyeing highs now. See if it can go through.
All right, got that fill. 83, so 5 on that one.
Sweet.
And so let's see if we can pull up.
So this for me becomes that controlling bar. So if you like using tight stops.
What do you mean by that, Bo? Can you give us a breakdown?
What
do you mean by that?
This to me is a bar that you don't want to be violated. Right?
Okay, on a 15-minute?
This is a 1 minute. It's a 1 minute.
Do we know your screen shares down?
It's down?
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
It faded off a little while ago, but if you can bring that back up, that'd be great.
Okay, let me.
Nice print on the 15-minute. I really like the way this can extend and tag that value area high. We know that's a pretty high probability, right? So I might extend the target on this. We'll see.
Okay, so this is. This is kind of what I like to see just looking at this morning. I mean, sometimes they get violated and it's just silly, but like right here, when you get a nice pullback like this, and then you start to get your thrust, you know, that like little reversal bar, you can either call this one the controlling bar or this one the controlling bar. And you know, it's basically a bar where you're identifying that I don't want price to go back down through that level. And so like, if you're putting your stop in here or here, it never gets violated. Then, you know, same thing kind of here, like once this bar completes and you start seeing some follow through, you know, sometimes I'll get too tight and I'll put my bar as my stop as like if it breaks back down through the high, right? But then you just get shaken out. Or if you use that controlling bar, it works pretty well. Same thing here, like it came down, recaptured that range. Once you get that controlling bar and then the follow through, like this is the bar I wouldn't have wanted to see it break back down through. So now that we're here in this area again, we got a nice little, you know, sort of double top, a nice little sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave mini pattern. Then the buyers step back in, give you a nice reversal signal buy where Manny was long on his, I think, a buy stop entry. But even if you buy it on this pullback or even this pullback, once you get this bar right here, to me, that's the controlling bar. That's the point at which this now becomes a real buy signal again in terms of, you know, who's stuck in the trade. So my stop on this basically then becomes the low of this bar. The fact that it just gets to the halfway point, a lot of people trade like that where they take a long bar, they look for the halfway retracement, buy it, and their stop is below that. So that's why I kind of like to call that my controlling bar right there to see, you know, if it were to break that, then there's stops here, you know. But the other way around, now we get to trigger hopefully the upside stops. And we might not, like, but again, it's pretty easy for the algos to trigger those upside stops. They know there's a bunch of buy stops above that 88, 89 level. So I'm trying to be a little more patient, see if we can keep following through. I've got my 4 offered at 93 3/4. And then if we get to those, can we get up through and into the big figure? Meta just made a new high. Google's making new highs. So the shorts, anyone who is short that wasn't covering in here or down here, they have to start worrying again about how much this can get bid up.
All right, I'm offered at sorry, bro, I just offered at 95, 95s.
Sweet.
And I'm just trying to make my day here.
I like when your offers align with my offers, kind of, because it's like, yeah.
Same. Let's call that out. I agree. All right, let's go. Come on. I didn't take any scales on this because I'm just shooting for I'm shooting for. We're really bullish, and I'm just trying to make my day in this trade. To be honest, like I really would just want to be done.
Look at YM making a new high. Advanced declines could not get down below that 1100 level, and now they're moving higher again. So that's good stuff. Might be a little greedy of me to still be holding this, but now the structure looks good again, right? So ideally I should hold it, because if I get scared and tighten my stop, then probably it comes and stops me out and then goes and fills me where I would have been. But we still do have to pay attention to, like, NVIDIA. That's a hell of a move we've had, and even in NVIDIA, so it's like they could easily just sag this and start selling it again. I don't think they will. I think YM really has legs here. How often do you see a move like this in YM?
This is just a tick fade.
Nice, easy money.
Nice, good job. Well done.
Here's the 15-minute chart. You're probing up into these.
Yeah, it's super bullish.
Levels here.
Yeah, look at that breakout. That's so nice. Went into trouble at trying to get out before this notch right here. Or into it, I should say. Always testy when you don't take any scales. Just gotta focus on my breathing and stay with it. Stay out of its way. Got a total about like 8 on right now, so it's a little bit dicey.
We got 2 more minutes until the close of this 15-minute candle. And you see how this 15-minute candle aligns really well with that 1-minute structure that Manny and I were just showing you. So you have a nice thrust, pullback, a 15-minute doji, which oftentimes what I'm talking about is bracketing that. So you can buy the high of it with your stop below, or you can sell the low of it with your stop above. But when you get it in this form on a pullback, this is often a really super good continuation type of pattern. The thing we're a little weary of is now we've fulfilled our ATR. We've made, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're in our 7th wave. So it can close really strong on this, which would be awesome if it could fill us up in here. But also they can close it here and then do a big reversal sweep, at least of this low, because now the algos know there's all these stops at 79, there's all these stops at 75, there's all these stops at 69. But I also like the fact that we have this little high here at 97, that they can, so you've got your 97 level, you've got your big figure level, and then the next one is back up into these 20s, which if we really burst up into there, it seems like it would be newsy. You'd probably get a lot of sellers at that 20 zone before it went straight through, unless it was just a total news explosion. See if YM can get through the 700, and if NVIDIA can get through 218. I think I probably have to take some profit. I'm going to wait to see what the close of this 1-minute bar does. So far, the low of this 1-minute bar is 90 3/4. Ideally, I'd like to get filled on my offer first, but let's see what happens. It's within 4 ticks. Here we go. Come on. Nice. Awesome. YM got through the 700 mark and NVIDIA got through the 218 mark. So do you guys think this this short squeeze is over, because I do not. But I won't be stupid about it. So now I'm really close to getting filled, but if this reverses, I want to make sure I'm taking some profit. So the low, oh, there we go. I just got filled on that. I've had that order in for a day. I never touched it.
You'll be filled right away.
So that helps. That helps sometimes. So now I don't want this to go against me, since I finally got profitable on it. So I could just put my stop down here below these levels and make sure I'm not letting a winner turn into a loser again. It was a loser, then it was a big loser. So it'd be stupid to let it reverse on me. So my stop will be now. God, I mean, I hate to put it right there, but so it goes. Here's this high was 87.5. This high was 87.5. This low is 85.5, and then 86.5. 88.75. 89. The low of this, if I call this the next controlling bar, then the low of that bar is 90.25. Low of this little doji is 89.5. So we've got crude testing this level again at 93.15. So I'm gonna put this in right below these lows. And just make sure I'm staying green. Yeah. I just really want this to keep going, like right now, this instant. If it pulls back on me, it's too much emotional baggage for me to stay with it when I stayed with it for way too long, you know? So it's like right now where I should probably be giving it a little more room. Instead, I'm tightening my stop because I'm afraid. And fear sucks, but it happens. And then how do I control it? Well, I would have never been afraid to begin with had I used my stop to begin with, right? So it's like there's just no reason for that. And now we're getting this break in NQ, so maybe we'll get a quick fill up through the big figure. And what we don't want to see now is for this to be a false breakout and have them sweep it back down. And that's why I say, like, there's so much positioning and position squaring that can take place ahead of the jobs number that, you know, it can keep going a lot farther than we think, or it can trick everyone and just completely smack them down again. But I still like the structure a lot here, and there should be additional stops above the 97 and above the figure. That's a really tight 1 minute doji. Sometimes that can be a really good continuation pattern. You have a big rejection happening right here in Meta, so I'm not sticking around this trade very long. But when it takes out the low of the doji and then reverses and takes out the high of the doji, it can be very explosive. So the low of this bar is 91 3/4. NVIDIA is still holding the 218 so far, but that was a big false breakout in Meta, so you gotta just see if one leads or is meaningful. crude rejected the 93.10, 93.15 level again. So now see if crude can actually retest the open and sweep to the downside, because the market will like it probably if it can get back down into the 89-ish, you know, the 80s handle. But this is something that someone was asking me about too. I think it was maybe Delph. When you see uptrends like this is, I mean, that's nice accumulation, right? That's a nice buy program. Now this one, look at how perfectly, you know, that's just a nice buy program coming in. To me, that's a really good sign for a continuation of the uptrend. And if we count the waves on NQ like this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are pretty, you know, this was the only one that didn't pull back that much, if you're kind of counting it like that. It could be exhausted here, but it's just, there's more stops above that they can gobble. You might have the false breakout going on in NVIDIA, so watch that closely. I'm gonna sell 4 at 90 3/4. Filled. And then I've got my remaining stop here at break even. I'm gonna put it at, my break even was 87 3/4. Now I'm gonna adjust my 99 3/4. I'm just gonna cancel that. If it goes up there, I'm gonna try to hold the remaining and just see if it just goes. But so sometimes or the buyer's stepping right back in. But if they don't, then they could easily just target back the low of this range, which is where the moving average comes right back in on this bigger time frame. And then those pivot levels, 72.5. Here's crude now checking its opening price again. So let's see if crude can start sweeping to the downside, and maybe that'll give us a little more buying thrust in the markets.
What is crude doing?
It's right at its open, but it just kept trying to test that 93 level, and now it's sort of looks almost like another little mini head and shoulders here, because this is the head, a left shoulder and a right shoulder are pretty even, And now, the sellers could come in and sort of smack it pretty hard again if they want.
$475.87. And this low was $75.88. Okay, let's see.
So on crude, if the high of the day was in, which was the overnight range right here early on, if it fulfills its ATR, 5-day ATR, it could trade down to 91.40. If it can get through that and make like a measured move, then you could see it around that 90 level. I'm interested in getting long again somewhere down in there. I'm not quite sure if we'll close this gap at 87.5 or whatever that was. And you could target that gap if you were short. On the NQ, I just really like the idea that if I move this box up to the low of the day there, if we fulfill our ATR, we run up and get through these stops and trade up to 567. But I don't think it would stop there. If we got up through that level, I think we'd get right back up towards the 600, 650 level today. And we may kind of settle in that area just ahead of the jobs number. But it's like if you think it's the other way around and now our range is in, this is another really good reversal setup if you want to be short. You can get in right here and have your stop above these 97s or wherever you want to put it for your risk tolerance. And then the idea would be that you get, a sell program that comes in back down to the 72s. And if it goes to the 72s, does it hold? I think it would. I don't really see us getting back down to the opening prints today, personally, but that would be like the follow-through short setup if they decide they have more to sell. But it seems easier for them to hold their long positions at this point. Like I was saying earlier, because there was no big follow-through sell-off early, I would think they're looking for a better than expected jobs number, or I don't know how the market reacts to something like that. If the jobs number is better than expected, maybe the market sells off, because then the Fed really has to focus on inflation. So then the Fed should be hiking, I don't know.
Who knows what the Fed's going to do?
The job number is really good. Maybe the market rallies a shit ton because we're in the perfect sweet spot zone here, the way it's all acting. Like everything's great, super boom cycle, and we just keep going and going. Like that could totally happen.
Yeah,
I hate
for
being
sure.
really bullish like that, but
It'd be interesting to see
acknowledge. Yeah.
if there's any like raising language in there, like because they'll signal it first, right?
Yeah. I think the FedWatch tool has started pricing it in some.
That's typically like the first step.
So here's the June meeting. There's nothing priced in. In July, they've started pricing it in slightly. September even more, and then October even more. December, January. I personally think if they wait that long, they could be really late.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Nice.
Got it. Ha. Woo. That was an intense hold. Plus 16 on those two.
Nice.
And I added them back. Woo. Oh man, I feel great about that, guys. That was a tough hold.
I think it looks good.
So I made my day on that one. Yes. Yep. So if you guys realize what I did there, right? My average was I was adding them off, and so a few things I want to go through. I had to stay out of my own way, right? So I had a total of, at one point, I had 9 contracts long. Wait. Don't get squirrely on me. Come on. Come on. Don't do it. What time is it? Oh, we're close. We're close here, guys. Let me go ahead and peel one more off. Wait. Let me see something. Let me watch this. Come on. You know you want to. 96.75. I have what? 97. I'll take this one off for 3.5 points. What's the delta doing? There's a little battle going on right now. 75, 94.50. Negative 174. I just need to decide if I'm going to take this one off or not. Let's see what happens here. Come on, let's go. There you go. Hit him. Let's go, baby. Take him. Let's go. 20, 94, 95 quarters, 45, 7. Oh, he came back in on him.
I'm not selling them anywhere here.
Okay.
I'm only selling them if it reverses. I think above the big figure, you just start running into a lot more stops. You could go easily back up into the 20s.
Let me just. I hate to look at my P&L like mid trade, but so what I did there was, I'm sure you guys saw it, right? So at 95s, I had originally 79s, and I was looking for 95 for 16 points. And so I wrote it down. I was writing it down so I can remember. So then when they came back in on me, I took one off for 11.25, and then I wrote, two. I wrote down that I wanted 2 at 16, and so that's how I know that when we came up here, I had 6 original. So I had 6 in this account, this 6 here, and I had 3 here. So it was a total of 9. So 9 contracts long with, and I always get uncomfortable when I'm in. I don't know why, and I did rhyme anyhow. So when it was coming back down on me, that number I had, but that's what I've noticed. Right? There's no reason to know. And then it went back up on this red bar right here. It came back in on me again, and I took 2 off. I know I took 1 off for 12 points. I took 2 off for 2 off for 12 points. That left me 3. I added that one right back. When we closed this bar, I just added it right here. So that brought me back up to 4. I just took what so that would bring me up to 5 here. I just took 2 off at 95.50 for 16 points. So I got my 16 points on 2. And then this one will ultimately be the ad. I did 2 ads and 2 peels. So like I said, I'm trying to make my day on this trade and not not a gambling or anything like that. We're very, like, Bo's highlighting it for me. He was doing a great play-by-play on all the reasons why, we were rallying higher. So in order to hit that final target, what I want to highlight is that I just, I had to stay out of the way. And the more, what I've done over time and the way I've developed the skill to stay in trades is by watching myself, watching my thoughts as they're going through, because my brain will start rationalizing every tick, and then the reason why that thought is there is typically to soothe something within myself. Like I often say that scaling out of your trade is it's just mental. It's you want to feel good about something, right? It puts your mind at ease. So holding the trade, I've been mentioning earlier about that great trade I had. And I remembered that mindset that I was in, like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. So I wanted to do the same thing here. Like, just stay out of the way. You're not hoping on a prayer. We're really bullish. Just stay out of the way. So the reason why I got really quiet and Bo took over was because I just had to focus on not doing anything. And that was really taking up all my attention. Not touching it. Well, although I was quiet, it was an internal battle. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. And so fortunately, I was able to hit the target that I wanted, which was the 2 off at 95.50. That 95. And remember, we came up, right? Dude, this is how testy it got. We came up to within a tick, 2 ticks, 95s. And we peeled off. Yeah, we peeled off. I was like, come on.
I know. It's so remarkable how much it does that to you.
It's only the last few ticks, right? But here's the thing: is I was telling myself, if you weren't in this trade right now, how would you feel about that? And I look at the chart pattern. I'm like, oh, we're going up. So then stop. Don't touch it. Act like you're not in the trade. Nobody knows you're in this long. The market doesn't know. It's not out to get you. It's going to do whatever it's going to do with or without you. So Correct. Assess it from an objective standpoint. What is it doing? It's going higher. So who cares? It doesn't know that I was in the long except me, and I had to just stay out of my own way. And in that moment, because I had and remember, I could have been in 9 micros, and I would have went and taken a phone call, went for a walk, and would not cared. And that's happened to me. I one time I thought I was in micros and I was in minis. But I had to stay out of my own way, and I had to make sure that, my own thoughts don't betray me. And so in that moment, because I had a larger position size than I'm normally comfortable with, it took a lot of my energy. It took pretty much everything I had to literally stay out of the way. But fortunately, I was able to hit that, and I really wanted those 2 at 16. I'm going to peel another one off here just because I'm a little bit distracted, and I'm also feeling a little euphoric, right? Like, it's something I often talk about. Post-win euphoria is I have 2 basic mindset tools that I use. One is post-win euphoria. The other one, stop loss protocol, right? And so post-win euphoria for me is after a winning trade, I tend to get euphoric and I tend to get sloppy. Okay. And so I always want to be mindful of that. And, but I wanted to share with you guys how that transpired for me on a personal note, and the mental structure it took to maintain that position to target. I hope that helps. I just took this one off because it doesn't really matter to me. Thanks. So that was kind of what I wanted to share with you all, because today I think that today's main focus has been mindset, right? Like having the mental dexterity to hold a position to its target, analyzing the market from an objective standpoint. Like the market doesn't know my position, and so what is the market going to do if I was flat? If I didn't have a position, I wouldn't really care. So let me just analyze it objectively. I just took another one off for like 8 or 9 points. I just want to lighten up here because I want to make sure that I'm not, that euphoria is not going to take over me. So I'm just going to lighten up, and I want to breathe a little easier. And so also the other key lesson for today, in my opinion, is like you guys saw me today struggling at the open, right? I was struggling because I came in, I said, damn, I have a bias. I think I know that if we got below 7510, 7500, we should tank like 100 points. And I've been thinking about that all night. And then when I came in on the sell-off, my bias was on the short side, and I shared that with you all so that you all can see it, that it was hard for me when we were trading in here, right? Let me highlight it. I'm sure you guys remember that when we were just off the open in here, when I was contemplating selling the AM high and we were chopping around, and we drew out the plan this morning, right? The plan was, hey, the most bullish argument was if price gets up into value area and reclaims the overnight high and gets into yesterday's range, then we have to think longs. And I struggled with that in this area because we were chopping around just below the overnight low, the overnight high. And then it was very hard for me to get long. I took a couple of little scalps in and out, but I couldn't hold them all. And then I put my big boy pants on and I bought them and I held the trade. So two things I did there. I stuck to my system by waiting for the clock low, by the 11 a.m. low. I wanted to do that. So at least I had some validity to my system and to the trade. I analyzing what the market was doing and trying to stay in alignment with it. And the last couple of points was very hard to hold. But I hope you guys, I hope that added a little bit more value to you today. Those last couple of points, man, they were brutal. I'm not sure if you guys saw, I had to stand up, look out the window, walk around. I had to step away from the desk. I had to breathe. So at 12:21, I put breathe, Manny, breathe, game face. I'm just anything but touch the mouse. Anything but touch the mouse. So I hope that helps out. It wasn't easy, look, guys. Team, if you all know how much money you can make trading futures, right? You can make a career out of this, and literally you can make more money than a doctor, right? And not go to school for it. The barrier to entry is really low, but we have to form these other disciplines in order to achieve those outsized results. To be really good at what we do, we have to put the work in, and we have to try to develop those skills. Nobody's born disciplined. All I say this constantly. No one is born with discipline. No one is born to be a trader. So, I mean, maybe a few are. I thought people are, but 85% of us are not. So, but that doesn't mean we can't become that and generate those skills and develop those skills through practice and through focus and through taking, emulating others that have done it before us and adding our own ingredients that are personalized for ourselves. It certainly wasn't an easy hold, and it could have pulled back on me, and I would have had to take a stop at break even, and that would have sucked. But fortunately, it didn't. And what I didn't want to do in that scenario was get shaken out on a pullback because I just couldn't hold it. Because I knew I was coming into today like not on a. I wasn't in a mentally strong place. I was confused at the open. I had a bias. But anyhow, I hope that helped everyone out a little bit. Ran a little bit over today on time. But maybe you want to test yesterday's high. Hey, why not? Let's go. I'm long at 91. I still have one left at 91. So this 91, you can see that this was my last ad, right? And you can see it right here was when the bar closed. Watch this. So this ad, well, you see, remember I said I didn't want to get shaken out on this dip, but I actually did. I took one off. And as soon as that bar closed, I added to it. And that's, look, you can see it here. That's literal. It lined up perfectly. Look, 91 is where I added it. So I added it right here in the tail. So
well, look at how perfectly the previous high held as support. So the
right, exactly.
Support resistance levels when they are perfect like that.
Listen to what Bo's saying.
It's always like that, but it happens a lot. You can strip your charts out of all of the moving averages and all the other stuff, and there's a lot of people that trade like that just off the candles using support and resistance. And it's often
that's a great point, Bo.
Tick. Yeah.
No, great point. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's often it trades to the tick, and if it doesn't, you can use a really small stop and just, you want the market to behave kind of exactly like you want it to behave, if it doesn't, be skeptical.
To Bo's point, right? That's exactly, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Bo, because that's exactly what I was focused in on. I said, well, let's see if we're really trending strongly, right? Because look at what happened prior. We broke out, right? This was the choppy area, right off the open, and then we broke out, right? This was our breakout. Our pullback didn't even test the prior high. Is that bullish or bearish? That's really bullish, right? Didn't even get to the support. On the next one, and then again it happened again. Okay, we balanced, pulled back. Sorry, we broke out, we balanced, but this time, it held the highest high. I'm sorry, it held the previous high from right here. Came right in line, and I was dialed in on that. I said, let me see where this bar closes. I was watching the time, and I wanted to see. I was like, if we wick into that support, we should move a little higher, and that'll get me my target.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always work out that way, like Bo said, to Bo's point. But I typically this holding like that, I would never expect that to work twice. That's typically what you see at the end of the move. But that one worked out really good. And then, as I said early on, you only need one good one. And I, because I wasn't coming in a really good place, I just wanted to get it done and over with. So I had 78, and then in this account over here, I added. This is the CCI strategy that's running in a separate account. But in this one, which is a different account, I had 3 on at 85 from down here. I was looking at this high on the tick chart. I wanted to get high. I wanted to get long off that high, on the breakout of that high. And then I remember that the order flow was when we broke out through here, I got long in here because the order flow was just screaming. I knew we were going to take it. I knew we were going to take that hill.
So the support resistance, here's the one that I see a lot where it really works well. So when we had this little pullback here, essentially you're now in a downtrend, right? And I already highlighted how it was sort of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mini downtrend. This is what you see this over and over and over again. You have to be really fast. You have to be really focused to be able to take these kind of signals sometimes. But once you get this bar pulling back, yes, that could be just a perfect short opportunity if it rejects and goes like this. But oftentimes, if you're trading, with the overall trend, you get those 3 bars that take out these previous bars right here, and look at where it checks back to. It's like you can buy that check back, and you could even use, a 4 tick stop if you wanted, right? Like there are often times where you see that happen and it just doesn't violate anything. So obviously most traders, they put their stop down here somewhere. They maybe even put it way down here, like treat it as a news stop and then wait and see how the trade develops. That's a great way to trade. I don't like doing it personally because I don't like taking bigger stops than I need to, but those little mini support resistance setups happen all the time and they can be really good. I mean, even this one right here, that was your first thrust. It comes down. As soon as it trades above that little pivot, the next pullback, you can either buy with a tight stop there, or look at it happens exactly again. Like it moves through that bar, and then look at where the pullback is, almost perfectly to the high of that first bar, right? So if you find those kinds of setups, the beauty of them, like Manny just demonstrated on his, is like the beauty of great setups is that they move your direction immediately and they give you no heat. And those are the easiest trades to take or to be in because you have no emotional heat. You've taken it's like right now I can just completely chill because I've made some money on my long. I have a break even stop. Now I'm hoping this thing just keeps moving through and exploding higher. And so it's easy to be not emotional, right? But at this point, when it was pulling back, I was really cautious about a trade that I shouldn't have been sort of silly about. I luckily was good enough to hold all that way and get it back to green. And the last thing I wanted to do was have a chance to scratch it again. And I could have scratched it yesterday once or twice and I didn't. And then have it again go against me. So, it's like that was me being fearful. And I ended up just getting lucky that I'm still in the trade. But, it's okay to get in and out of trades. Like if it doesn't feel right, if it's not acting right, there's always another entry. there was no reason for me to be so stubborn about that position, other than I literally just left without putting a stop in, which you should never do. Even a big account with a lot of ability to hold and take longer positions and swing trade and investment, bigger investment time frames, you should still have an idea of what triggers you to get out, whether it's a hard stop or not. You should know what the game plan is on that stuff.
Yeah, let's get to some of these comments. ED Money says, nice, you were patient. This is actually, Large Voice said, this is actually a teaching moment for us. Yeah, that's the hope, right? That's the hope. Just share some of the things that work well for us. So I'm glad you guys are getting something out of it. Philly D says, so hard, everything's mental. Yeah, it's tough. So, but Large Void, the one thing I do want to share with you is, hey, there's nothing wrong. Nobody's born with these skills. So give yourself time, give yourself space to develop them, and then map out a plan. Say, take incremental steps. I had a coaching call with a client, with a trader that I'm helping out yesterday, and we have this plan that we're following, so that ultimately, when we're done, he should have some of those skills. They'll be embedded. They'll be just second habits. But it's really hard to learn those habits if you're approaching it while you're working, right? So think about it like baseball. I see everything through baseball, but it's really, it goes. Said I like to play baseball, and it goes in groceries, right? They go to practice. They go from little league to high school ball to college to the minors to the pros, and then hopefully they make the World Series, right? So develop the skill and know that, hey, I wasn't born with this, but this is something I want, and I'm going to map out this plan, and I'm going to get there. One of the things that I did early on when I was really struggling, was about to give up on it, is I put myself through a trader boot camp, and that's what I kind of go through. Some of the guys that I coach now, it's like a small little, it's a boot camp, and I structure it really in a really creative way, in that ultimately it's really designed to help everyone and to just to make up for my time. But they really only pay they really only pay me if they don't become better. So it's a really creative way. If you want more information, shoot me an email and I'll explain it to you. Yeah, everything's mental. Nicely explained. Well done. Congratulations. Thanks, Large Void. Super insightful. Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Hope you guys got some. It's more fun to share these things than to I've been doing this by myself, and before going live with it, I was communicating with some of the guys in the I Am Pro community, and it's a little bit more complicated to explain these concepts via text, but that's what I was going through on the other side by myself, and just trying to get a little bit better every day. Just trying to get a little bit better every day, 0.5% better every day. Delphine, according to David, day 3 should be above the day 1 low. That is indeed the case. Yep, it's magic, right? It's very hard to find a statistic as strong as the 3-day cycle.
Look at this. This is the conversation I was having with Rich last night too, is because these levels, the numbers work so well because of the computers and the algos, right? So look at this NQ on my sheet. My 5-day moving average comes in at 492.5. And it's like, you can't make it up, as Danny likes to say sometimes. Here's where the NQ rallied to. It's like to the tick. 493.25. Okay, but so that's good. We want to see the NQ recapture that 5-day moving average and move through it. If it doesn't, they could just be a little exhausted here, and the range could be in going. Rich was showing me the same thing on his sheets, like with standard deviations and stuff like that too. And it's just remarkable how much the computers, they have to use math if they're trading algos and trading buy and sell programs and all these complicated like algo HFT kind of price action. That's what they're doing. So I'm watching this closely on the ES now too, because my 5-day moving average comes in at 92.5. So I don't really want to see that get violated and move back down to the downside. The 13-day moving average came in at 75.11, and we traded down to 25 and couldn't even get to that 13-day moving average. So that's a good thing. Like I think this thing is still intact right here. And now if we make a new move and get through the 7,600, then I don't want it to reject and come back into this little range we've just made here. So if it trades above 7,600, then I'll just move my stop up to like 95.75, and that captures an automatic 8 points on my last 4 contracts. And then I just hope it goes a bunch higher. That's how I'm managing my position here.
Good stuff. Hey, it's way easier to hold through a long trade than through a short one, right?
Yeah.
So hey, real quick, I just wanted to share this with you. So one of the tools that I use with the traders that I coach is it's a 12-week commitment, and they get this spreadsheet, and it's really easy to follow. They really only have to do 3 rules. Rule number 1 is so important. It's the main rule. And if they follow that rule, so we talk a lot about valid trades and invalid trades. And so they pick their trade direction and they log it out. And then at the end, what we do is we go through a summary and we review the results. And specifically, more these primary reasons for outcomes is we break these down. And then after we understand where they're struggling, and that's the rule, that's the criteria that we start to work on. And then we knock them out one by one. There are really only 6 reasons for outcomes: followed rules, broke rules, overtraded, middle trade, moved stop, and emotional. And we go through all of those. It's a 12-week program, and I'm just finished. We're in week 9 with Jesus, and he's coming through it now, and he's already, it's not an overnight thing. You have to put in the work, but he's already seeing the results, and I can already see. Sometimes he doesn't see it in himself, but I can already see that. As a new trader, he had a lot. He had to get through some misconceptions and form the right habits and form the right approach to trading, and that's what we're doing now. It's working out really well for him.
Look at this, guys. AVGO is finally going a little bit here. And there should be, a lot of resistance along the way, but it's on its high of the RTH anyways. You look at the overnight session, it still needs to get up through like the 422 level.
Still got that one contract on from 91. Hoping to
Nice.
get that filled up there at it's 01 quarter, should be 01. So hopefully I can get that filled.
I remember what was leading it this morning as far as the YM is now showing a little pullback here. So
YM.
yep. So it's trying to take out these lows and that support. It's not support if the buyers don't step back in. But from the overnight low, look at that, almost 1,000 points it rallied. And it's impressive.
All right, take care, Easy Money. Heat was a great movie. Oh man, that's a classic. Love that flick. Love that.
See what my schedule looks like here.
Yeah, I haven't watched YM in quite a long time. Maybe I should.
Well, what I watch it in conjunction with is the advanced declines. And oftentimes you can see the advanced declines lead a little rollover or vice versa. Again, these little levels, these sort of miniature levels, like right here, the advanced declines have pulled back now and are testing this little level at 1,000 or so, 1,100. It's kind of breaking slightly, which coordinates with the YM pretty well. And so you can watch that to see if there's going to be follow through, or just to see if you can identify any correlation. That's what I do so much in my trading. Because sometimes I don't worry about being perfect on where that entry point is. I just, if I see a correlation, I try to just get in on it. You know what I mean? Too often.
These and then back circling back to the way we opened, right? The confusion for me at the open and coming in with a bias. Also, it's the experience of knowing that when the market starts squeezing, those are the most lucrative days. Those are the days that you want, hopefully you don't get into, the mindset of fading it. But if you can stay, if you can get into a position early on, if your read is right, if not, don't worry about it. You can get on later because the market is going to move in one direction. Just be patient. Be patient about it, and you will make your day. Maybe you're not going to make it in the first half hour that day, but you'll get there. It'll offer an opportunity. Remember when it was ripping up here? I was like, oh gosh, I'm never going to get in. This is never going to happen for me today. And I did take a scalp in here. I had a 5-point scalp. Remember?
Yeah.
And then I immediately got out. I had a long in here too that got stopped out at under 61. Right over here, I got stopped out. I took it off. I was still confused though here, I'll be honest. I was still thinking, oh man, this thing could fade away.
Here's NVIDIA, 19.5 almost. Yeah, baby. I was thinking if we could get a close above 220, I think we're going to. crude is breaking again. There's a level at 92.10 on crude, which is the S2 level. See if that means anything. It probably won't. I would guess it gets down through the low overnight low, but awesome, David. I probably should just listen to David a lot more. I've learned so much, and it's always been really helpful listening to his structural stuff. My whole thing is just controlling my emotions. I still get so emotional. I hate losing. That's what I realize about myself. I hate losing. On the other hand, I'm really not that competitive.
Oh
So
my
it's a
God,
sort
that's
of
my
a
Achilles
strange
heel.
dynamic, you know.
That's my Achilles heel. I just, maybe it's that I don't think I enjoy winning as much as I hate losing.
Right.
I don't know if the two are interchangeable. All right, team. So that's going to wrap it up for me for today. I've got some other responsibility. I want to make sure that we got that lesson in, and obviously I wanted to finish the trade because first of all, I want to get paid, and second off, create, hopefully it just led some insight and a demonstration into my process and how we trade. And I think today, some days we have the market presents opportunities to share great insight, and other days not so much. But I think that today's stream really nailed it. I know Bo had some great insight to share with everyone. I know I got a lot out of it. And so hopefully you guys, everyone that's watching, got something out of it. There were some technical glitches at the beginning, but you know, the one thing I want to share before I go is, and now that I'm starting to understand, it's probably the best days for learning how to trade are probably going to be the days that are hardest. Those are days that probably present the best opportunity to show how we have to maintain our patience, work on our discipline, continue to develop that, and make sure that we follow a game plan like we lay out in the pre-market. Because think about it, team. If I had come in and I was trading my narrative, or I was trading my bias right there, and I didn't lay out the plan that said, hey, if we get into yesterday's range and we pull back, then we need to get long, I would have been selling it all the way up. I would have been trying to get short all the way up, and I would have had a brutal day. But today was a good example of how, you know, because I in sharing with you, hey, I'm supposed to be getting long here, and I was kind of struggling with it. But I hope you all got something out of it. I surely did. Explaining it also helps me maintain my discipline. So the teacher is the student, and the student is the teacher, I guess. All right. With that said, we're gonna put a bow on this for today, at least on socials, while I have to render this and get it ready for and get the show ready for tomorrow. But hey, listen, if you got anything out of this at all, do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notify button, come back in and check us tomorrow. We're going to be on at 9 a.m., hopefully sharp, no problem. And we'll go through it again. We'll map out the most bullish argument, we'll map out the most bearish argument. We'll talk about the bullish trap trade. We'll talk about the bearish trap trade. And if you guys are watching, tuning in every day, you see that one of those scenarios each day plays out, and we typically always get a good trade off, typically 1 or 2 in the morning, and then maybe another one in the afternoon. That's my cadence. So hopefully you guys will check back in tomorrow. If you have the talent and you want funding and you like the capital, go to pitbulltraders.com. We just rehauled the website. Really proud of the work we did there. Check it out. Read the rules. Familiarize yourself with the tools, and come back and sign up for an evaluation there. You can use the promo code THEPIT for 30% off while that lasts. All right. So thank you for checking in, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Nice work.